Hello everyone, what is up? It is me, AlbyMTG, and for today's video we will be taking a look at the banned and restricted list. We're going to be going by each of the formats, and we're going to talk about what I expect to see happen during the banned and restricted announcement on Monday, and what we can expect to see in the future for, future banned and restricted announcements. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and start off with Standard, because Standard is the simple, most obvious one here. Aetherworks Marvel, Smuggler's Copter, Felidar Guardian, Attune with Aether, Rogue Refiner, Rampaging Ferocidon, and Ramunap Ruins are the cards currently banned in Standard, and all of these cards outside of Rampaging Ferocidon are going to be rotating. I don't expect them to unban any of the cards on this list. The only one that they might unban is Rampaging Ferocidon. If they don't unban Rampaging Ferocidon now, I could definitely see it happening that the next banned and restricted announcement we see Rampaging Ferocidon unbanned. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest to see Wizards of the Coast say, look, it's a brand new Standard format, forget everything that happened with Kaladesh and Aether Revolt, forget everything, that you've known about Standard for the past, year and a half, however long it's been, and just focus on this new set, or this new Standard environment, featuring only Ixalan, Rivals of Ixalan, Dominaria, Core Set 2019, and then Guilds of Ravnica. And so it wouldn't surprise me if they unban Rampaging Ferocidon just so we have the entire card pool to put together, and it would seem kind of awkward to have a Standard ban list consisting only of Rampaging Ferocidon. In terms of cards that could get banned, the two big ones that people are talking about, well, I guess there's three big ones. So the first one is Goblin Chain Whirler. I don't think Goblin Chain Whirler is going anywhere. The next one is Nexus of Fate. Nexus of Fate I also don't think is going anywhere. I think Nexus of Fate is going to remain still legal and Standard. A lot of people might disagree with me there, but I'd be interested to know your opinions in the comments. And then finally, the last card is Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. I think if any of those three cards are getting banned, it's going to be Teferi. Teferi is just the strongest card out of the three that I have, listed off there: Chain Whirler, Nexus of Fate, and Teferi. Teferi is just clearly the best card there. The card's good enough to be seeing Modern play, and in some cases has even replaced Jace the Mind Sculptor in some Modern decks, so you know that the card is extremely powerful. And so my guess for Standard on Monday would be no changes, or Teferi, Hero of Dominaria is banned. Those would be my only guesses. I think Karn is fine as well, and just like all these other cards, because of everything rotating out soon, we're in a very awkward place for this BNR announcement in Standard. And so again, like I said, my thoughts are we're either going to see nothing change with Standard, or we're going to see Teferi, Hero of Dominaria get banned. On to the next set of cards we have here. We're onto the Modern format. And of course, there are quite a few cards banned in Modern, so we won't get a chance to talk about all of them here, but my expectation for Modern, or at least what I'm expecting to happen with Modern, is that we're actually going to see unbannings, which I think is going to be very cool. There are two cards in particular that I think have the potential to be unbanned here. The first one being, where is he? Or she, I should say. Where is it? Stoneforge Mystic. Actually, ironically, they're both next to each other on the VNR announcement. So the first card here is Stoneforge Mystic. Stoneforge Mystic, we're at a point in Modern now where things are much faster than they used to be. Stoneforge Mystic hasn't been legal in Modern in quite a few years, originally being banned in Extended, and then when Extended and Modern merged together, we still remained with Stoneforge Mystic on the ban list. I think we're at the point now where Stoneforge Mystic can come off. The big thing with Stoneforge Mystic is that it allows you to find a sword, or it allows you to find Batterskull. Those are the two big targets with Stoneforge Mystic. But the way that Modern is shaping right now, Batterskull dies to basically all the removal, dies to Path to Exile, dies to Fatal Push because it's just a token, the Germ token on it. And then even the swords, to choose the right sword, you have to look at the metagame, and of course all the different colors in Modern are very playable right now, so there's really no particular sword that would be super good in every single matchup. Most people would end up going with Fire and Ice. That's usually what it ends up being. Some might even go with the green-black one, Feast and Famine, as well. Those would be the two my best guesses for the two swords that would see the most play if Stoneforge Mystic was unbanned. But like I said, this card is just almost too slow now. We have Fatal Push as a removal spell that just kills the Stoneforge Mystic before you can even untap with it. And even if you do get to untap with it, whatever you're finding, chances are you're still just not going to get there. If you find an artifact the artifact dies to Kolaghan's command. Like if you find Batter Skull or you find a sword or whatever, it dies to Kolaghan's command. It dies to all the artifact removal that people run on their sideboards for affinity. Dies to like Abrupt Decay. I guess Batter Skull doesn't, but the Germ Token would, and any of the swords would die to Abrupt Decay as well. Maelstrom Pulse is another card that people play that would get rid of them. There's just so many cards that answer Stoneforge Mystic and the threats that Stoneforge Mystic tries to find. And I think Stoneforge Mystic is just kind of too slow. We saw that with Jace as well. When Jace got unbanned, people thought it was going to break the format, and it turned out Jace, the Mind Sculptor, was just too slow for Modern right now. It's still a very playable card in Modern, but in most cases, there's a lot of times where you'll be looking at, say, like a Jace the Mind Sculptor in your hand. Meanwhile, your opponent has their Storm count at 20 on turn 3 after playing a Brawl on turn 2, and you're just dead. I believe Pleasant Kenobi, he's a fellow YouTube content creator, he has a little song on his channel about keeping Stoneforge Mystic banned in Modern, that he plays every time he dies to Storm in Modern, because he just, when you're playing against Storm, you just die before the Stoneforge Mystic would even do anything remotely, remotely relevant in the game. So I think we're at the point that Stoneforge Mystic could be unbanned. And then the next card here is Splinter Twin. Splinter Twin was kind of like a fan favorite, but what happened with Splinter Twin was a bunch of people were playing it. It was just clearly the highest, percentage deck in the Modern meta. There was nothing up there that really competed with it, but I think that now we are at the point where there are so many other viable decks that we've seen, emerge over the past few years, that I think there are enough decks now where Splinter Twin wouldn't just take over the meta if Splinter Twin was unbanned. We would still have like new decks that have emerged since Splinter Twin, banning. We're looking at things like the Hollow One archetype. That deck didn't even exist before when Splinter Twin was banned, so that's another deck that people could be playing now. And then again, there's just all sorts of other decks that people might want to play outside of just jamming Splinter Twin. So I think we're also at the point now that Splinter Twin can be unbanned. And again, as we're seeing with Jace the Mind Sculptor, 4 mana at sorcery speed is just, it seems too slow for Modern now. Of course, this one, if all goes well, you cast this and then you win the game. That's what Splinter Twin's supposed to do. But if you don't have like the counter spells to back it up, then your combo just gets ruined by several removal spells, even just one removal spell possibly. And tapping out for 4 mana on your main phase is not where these control decks want to be, and that's normally what Splinter Twin ends up going into, is slots into like a blue-red control kind of deck that just wins out of nowhere with Splinter Twin. And so I think, again, like I said, 4 mana sorcery speed just a little bit too slow now in Modern, I think. And so my guess for Monday is that we're going to see Splinter Twin unbanned in Modern, and we're going to see Stoneforge Mystic unbanned in Modern. It's extremely, extremely possible that nothing gets touched in Modern. Modern is in a fantastic, fantastic place right now. But again, a lot of people thought the unbanning of Bloodbraid Elf was something we would never see. The unbanning of Jace the Mind Sculptor was something we would never see. And a lot of people are thinking the same with Stoneforge Mystic and Splinter Twin again, and I think it's time that they come off the ban list. Outside of that, there's really nothing else on the ban list that strikes me as, needs to come off the ban list right now. I saw a few people talking about Green Sun Zenith a little bit. Let me get it to where Green Sun Zenith shows up on the on the entire screen. So Green Sun Zenith says, it's X and a green, search your library for a green creature card with converted mana cost X or less, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library, and then you shuffle Green Sun Zenith into its owner's library as well. What makes Green Sun Zenith really good is that on turn 1, you can use this to fetch up Dryad Arbor, so then you're essentially fetching up a Mana Dork, or you can use this to, in the later game, fetch up some sort of a utility creature, maybe the Silver Bullet against the kind of deck that you're trying to play against. Maybe you're searching up a Reclamation Sage against, an artifact or enchantment based deck. And then there's just all sorts of other great cards that you can find with Green Sun Zenith, and later on in the game it still has value, even though it had value in the early game too. Just super valuable card throughout the course of the entire game. And again, Green Sun Zenith, if your main goal is just to find some sort of a Silver Bullet card, then Green Sun Zenith is reasonable for that. But if your goal is to just find like a Knight of the Reliquary, or find like Azusa and Ramunap Excavator, those kind of cards, again, we're at a point where in Modern you're just gonna like die to Storm or die to some other deck, and it's just kind of gonna be too slow possibly with Green Sun Zenith. We're at the point that even fetching Dryad Arbor, there's many more removal spells now that see play to kill off things like the Dryad Arbor. Dies to Lightning Bolt, dies to Fatal Push again. Fatal Push being printed has definitely made a lot of these cards much more likely to come off the ban list because Fatal Push just answers them. So Green Sun Zenith is another example. We have cards like Court of Calling that are legal right now in Modern, and so Green Sun Zenith would most likely replace the Court of Callings. But again, we're at that kind of a point where even the Court of Calling decks don't really see a ton of play. So Green Sun Zenith probably in a good enough spot to come off now. I think I heard Todd Anderson was the one who said today that he thought Green Sun Zenith should come off, and as I thought more about it, he might be right. I don't think we're going to see that. Again, like I said, my prediction is that we're going to see Splinter Twin unbanned, and that we're going to see Stoneforge Mystic unbanned in Modern. In terms of banning things in Modern, I don't think they will ban anything. Some people have said Cart Clan Ironworks, some people have said Ancient Stirrings. I think all those cards are fine. I've played against KCI enough to know that, you know, it's an extremely powerful deck, but the deck just loses to like Graveyard Hate, the deck loses to Stony Silence, all these other sideboard cards. And so I think that we're fine with KCI being what it is. It's annoying to play against it. I fully recognize that. And if you're not the KCI player, you are having no fun in that matchup. Unless you have the sideboard cards, then you're the one having all the fun, and then your opponent's not having any fun. Maybe Wizards doesn't like that the matchup is so one player has fun, one player doesn't have fun, but honestly, I think KCI again is just in a perfectly fine spot. For Vintage, I think things are fine. From what I've seen from Vintage, I don't personally play Vintage, but from what I've seen from deck lists coming out and from people talking about Vintage, Vintage seems like it's in a fine place right now, so I don't expect anything to change in terms of Vintage. And then in Legacy, we just had the big banning of Deathrite Shaman, which was super huge for the format, and then we also had the banning of Gitaxian Probe. And so I think right now Legacy is also just in a fantastic spot right now. We saw Death and Tax is doing quite well. There's like the Lands deck that does fine. There's Reanimator decks that do well. There's the various different shades of Delver, the Temur Delver list, the Grixis Delver list. There's like 4-color Leovold decks. There's a bunch of good archetypes in Legacy that you can play, and so again, I think after the banning of Deathrite Shaman, nothing has really emerged as just like the #1 deck in Legacy right now. And so I think Legacy again is fine. I don't expect to see any changes with Legacy. And then down here, there's like other formats like Commander, and then Pauper, those kind of things. Again, I don't expect to see anything banned in any of those. We haven't had the new Commander sets out long enough to know if any of the new cards in the Commander sets are worthy of a ban. I highly doubt it. And then for Pauper, nothing again really came out that would initiate a Pauper banning either. It's not like when Peregrine Drake came out and we knew it had to be banned like instantly. So again, I think my predictions for Monday, I'm going to lock in my final predictions. I'm going to say Teferi, Hero of Dominaria is banned in Standard, and Splinter Twin and Stoneforge Mystic are unbanned in Modern. Those are going to be my predictions for Monday. Of course, there will be another video coming out on Monday where we'll see how close I was with my predictions. We'll see if anything else changed, and of course, this is kind of just a chance for me to hear your guys' opinion as well. I love to listen to your comments, and I love to respond to all of them. I want to know what you guys thought about my opinions on it and what your personal opinions are on what you'll think they'll do on Monday as well. Very interested to know because a bunch of players have a bunch of different opinions when it comes to this kind of stuff, and so I'm really interested to hear your thoughts, your opinions, all that other kind of stuff. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and I will see you guys here next time for another Magic the Gathering video. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video where I talk about my opinions on what I'm expecting to see on Monday during the banned and restricted announcement. I would like to give a quick thank you to all of my patrons. Similar to some standard cards that were banned, Attune with Aether and Rogue Refiner, they were the glue that kind of held together the Temur Energy list, and my patrons are the glue that kind of holds together this channel. Of course, they're all fantastic, and I would like to give a big shout out and thank you to BadWolfMTG, Jeremy W, and Jason F for supporting the channel. You all are fantastic. If you're interested in checking out the Patreon page, you can do so in the link down below in the description, and thank you guys so much for watching the video.